So Ethan Klein of H3 Productions originally, and now the H3 Podcast, is a very controversial guy these days. And the latest thing he's being called out for is for supposedly bullying a midget or short person, not really sure the medical term.
There's no such thing as a midget.
But supposedly he bullied one years ago on his podcast, and the guy is now speaking out about it.
So there was a podcast that I was on one time, and it was a horrible experience, and it's why I'm never going to go on another podcast again. And the podcast owner now is crashing out on the internet publicly.
But after looking into it, I feel like it's not all it's cracked up to be.
Trust me, I've been performing in the entertainment industry, in the circus since I was 4. Now I do stand-up comedy. Trust me, I was not offended.
What? So today we're going to take a look at it. We've got some drama brewing right now. Obviously, Ethan Klein has become a very controversial guy over the years for many different reasons. You know, we've criticized him. Sometimes we've defended him at other points. But apparently, he's currently in drama with this individual. His name is Aubrey Small. He's like a dwarf, midget, little person. I don't know what the technical term is. He's a little short guy, all right? And I'll be honest, these guys do scare me a little bit. I do have kind of I don't know about a phobia. You know, I don't know if I'm scared of them, but I just want them to get away from me in Minecraft. But this guy apparently is calling out H3 because he went on his podcast and apparently he was mistreated somehow. So he decided to make a video about it 3 days ago that has 1 million views. So today we're going to watch this and determine, is this a worthy drama? Is he being opportunistic? What exactly is going on? I don't know exactly what the deal is, but we're going to try to find out here. How big of you, Tom? Thank you. Thank you. All right. So let's see what's going on. Because I know Ethan for a while, he was doing this thing where he was trying to recreate kind of the Whack Pack from Howard Stern. The Whack Pack back in the day for Howard Stern viewers was like, Howard would bring on like weird people, you know, disabled people, people with strange abnormalities in their body. One example would be like Beetlejuice, for example. You guys probably know Beetle, right? And apparently this guy was kind of brought on maybe during that era, although I don't really know. And you see a lot of people saying H3 sucks. They treated you like a prop. That's awful. Don't let Ethan intimidate you. Your story's important. So I'm curious to find out what's going on here.
So there was a podcast that I was on one time, and it was a horrible experience, and it's why I'm never going to go on another podcast again. And no, I will not be naming the podcast, even though some of you definitely know what I'm talking about. But they had a segment one time with the...
Why not just name it? He's had it up to here. True. I hate this thing people do where they're like, I'm not going to name who it is, but it's obvious who it is. Like, it's so clear. They're doing it to like seem like they're like bigger than the drama, to seem like they're, you know, above the situation. They're like, oh, I'm not really trying to start drama. I'm just talking about my situation. But obviously you are. Everybody here clearly knows who it is. Everybody clearly knows who you're talking about. So just say it. Just say it. If you want to, you know, have a serious complaint about what's going on here, just say it. Be the bigger person.
With the podcast owner's dad and some comedian who, mind you, the same podcast is now accusing of SA years later. But the comedian one day was...
The same podcast is accusing who of SA? Who are they accusing of sexual assault?
But they had a segment one time with the podcast owner's dad and some comedian who, mind you, the same podcast is now accusing of SA years later.
He says that in a very kind of snide way, as if they shouldn't be doing that.
But the comedian one day was talking in a bit about how he has a phobia of little people. And they were going on and on about a lot of miseducation around dwarfism in general.
Miseducation? What does that mean, miseducation? Is this guy's trying to educate them? What exactly is the miseducation? Your hair will make a family of crows very happy. Thank you. Is the miseducation just that Ethan was making fun of people who are midgets or whatever, who are short, little people? What exactly is the deal? Yeah, what is there to miseducate them? Is he like lying about the circumstances of the disorder? Is he saying it's not genetic? It's actually like some kind of like you step into toxic sludge and then it happens that way? Like what exactly is going on here? I don't totally understand.
So I was like, oh my God, this is the perfect time to educate people. We love a good educational moment, especially as a viewer at the time with dwarfism. So I wrote on their subreddit, I was like, hey, I'm a filmmaker and educator. I would love to come on and educate you guys and talk about the dwarfism community and specifically the phobia of little people, since I know that's such a gray area for a lot of people. So the post blew up. All of the fans of the show were like, we would love to see Aubrey on the show. They reached out, and then next thing you know, I'm in the waiting room the next episode to talk to the comedian and the podcast owner's dad.
Okay.
And I thought this was going to be a educational little moment, but I was coming.
You thought it was going to be an educational moment? Like, I watched a decent amount of the H3 podcast in my time researching it. I don't know why you had that impression. Why did you think this was going to be an educational moment? Have you ever, it's like a comedy podcast. They talk about drama. They talk about internet news and events. Why did you think it was going to be an educational moment? What about the H3 podcast ever made you think that it was some kind of educational show? The show is, I mean, like most, you know, internet news drama shows, it's bullshit. It's not like teaching people the ways of the world. What is going on here?
Coming on to be a bit. They essentially had, leading up to my appearance, a whole compilation of this guy, all the times that he said publicly on the internet that he's afraid of little people, and just a lot of derogatory jokes about little people.
No, dude. Not derogatory jokes about little people. Dude, that's fucked up. That's so twisted. No. Ethan, how could Ethan do this? How could Ethan ever do something so heinous? I literally can't believe
And they
it.
were like, and drum roll, we have a little person to surprise you. And they brought me in. But
With no warning? With basically no warning. What did Ethan even say about midgets? H3, midget, little people? H3 podcast, midgets. On podcast, midget molester. What is this? Midget matzah? What is midget matzah? What is this?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Is this a song that Ethan made? All right, singing about midgets, I
basically
suppose.
no warning.
With no warning.
The whole bit was basically just about having a little person go against two guys who were just talking about how little people, what are they going to do? Kick you in the shins? And then drop me in. And it just really solidifies the fact that, one, I'm a class act. Because y'all, I wanted to cuss them out.
He's like, I'm a class act, dude. I wanted to cuss them out. Yeah, you're a class act because you were a coward in the face of a podcast when you had the opportunity to apparently inform and educate, and instead you were a coward about it. That means you're a class act because you didn't shit on Ethan Klein. Wow, dude. That's amazing.
But I do believe in digital footprints. And mind you, this was in front of like 50,000 people watching live.
I do believe in digital footprints. What does that even mean? I believe in digital footprints. Isn't a digital footprint just your history online? A record of users' online activity, including the data interactions they leave behind. So what you're saying when you say I believe in digital footprints just means that you were scared that you would get shit on this podcast for standing up for yourself. And now retrospectively, you're trying to say like that's a good thing.
And because what you're not going to do is pretend like just because I have dwarfism that you can suddenly start making jokes as if I'm not a grown man who pays taxes.
Why can't you make jokes? If you're a grown man who pays taxes, you can make jokes. That's you being a grown man, if anything. If you are truly this grown man that you say you are, that should be a perfect reason to make jokes about you. If you're a grown dude, you should be able to take these jokes. Or you're a grown guy that pays taxes and you can't take a joke about how you're 3 feet tall. Like,
And like has a life. Shame on you, weirdo.
shame on you, weirdo. Shame on you, weirdo. Oh my God, dude. This is so cringe.
But two, again, I'm an educator. I do believe in trying my best. And I did what I could. They weren't willing to listen. They weren't wanting to listen. The whole crew was just
What are you going to educate them on? What education? About how you can't make jokes about little people or midgets? Is that it? What exactly is the meme here that I'm supposed to be like understanding that is so serious? I don't understand. What were you going to educate them on?
laughing the whole time. And it was like an out-of-body experience. I definitely disassociated for maybe 30 seconds because I was like, it's very strange watching something that you consumed for so long and then finally being involved.
Dude, if you're watching the H3 podcast, how would you not know that they make fun of people? They literally bring these bit characters on all the time, like Jimmy the Virgin, or is his name Jimmy the Virgin? Skippy the Virgin, Jimmy Lee, and they would make fun of them. That's their entire thing. What did you expect to happen? If you had any knowledge of this podcast, you wouldn't think this is like an educational show.
In that circle and then just realizing you're there to be a joke. Very weird thing. And it really, now I'm so conscious of what I say yes to and the things that I say and participate in. And the only podcast I listen to now, because I ain't listening to that anymore, is Do We Know Them? Because we love the girlies. And one of them
We love the girlies.
actually has a child with a disability and talks so openly and
Oh my God.
respectfully about that. And then also I listen to my own podcast because I love the sound of my own
Well, thank God. Thank God. Dude, thank God one of them has a disabled child and speaks respectfully about it. That sounds like it would be an amazing podcast.
voice. Sorry, some of us have soothing, calming voices that's enjoyable to listen to.
I completely disagree. I don't think this guy's voice is soothing or calming. It's giving me a fight or flight response. I feel my cortisol levels going up. Okay. I feel my heart rate going up incrementally with time. I feel like I just did a big line. So I don't feel soothed, if anything, to be honest with you.
But Don't worry about me though. I'm doing bigger and better things. At the time, I had just started working on my documentary, and I was also told them that I would love to talk to people about that and why I was making a documentary about little people that actually hire.
Oh no, you didn't get to plug your documentary on the podcast. You didn't get to self-promote. How horrible.
Little people behind the camera and in front of the camera in the first place, you know, because of issues like us being constantly used as like I'm scared of little people and the experiences that we have. But that fundraiser, it took a long time to reach our goal, but we finally did a couple months ago in the summer, which was really exciting. And also, I'm still hot, so, and the podcast owner now is crashing out on the internet publicly.
I'm still hot, and now the podcast owner is crashing out on the internet publicly.
So, how things change.
This guy is so conniving. He's so snide. So this dude, all right, he easily could have talked about this at any point in time that he wanted to. At any point in time, he could have talked about this, but instead he waited. He waited until H3 was in a bunch of controversy, but not controversy from the commentary community, controversy from leftist spaces, and then opportunistically decided to make a big deal out of this thing. Okay, well, maybe it was really bad. Maybe he did. You know, if Ethan just brought this guy on and just berated him for 20 minutes straight, that doesn't sound that nice. But, I mean, I probably think it's funny, but I guess we'll see what it is. The silence after they say we actually have a little person on the call with us. All right, we'll see what this is about. We'll see how bad this bullying was.
Go after a
My new
minority
manager.
group who is less apt to hurt you than midgets or little people, right? You
What can they
make
do to
fun of
me?
other
So
groups.
Ethan's not
They
even
have
here. It's his dad and Jimmy Lee.
big, serious, threatening people, not midgets. What are they going to do? Come up and kick you in the knee or something? That's
What are they
so
going to do to me,
I
AB?
think
Well,
that was a good group to insult.
You know, that's okay. I'm really glad you said that, Gary, because we actually have a little person on the call. They've been listening. And so Dan is going to bring them in right now, and we can sort of open a dialogue here. Okay?
Their faces.
So this is Aubrey.
What is Jimmy Lee wearing on his head?
So far, so good.
She liked the joke.
Oh, is this a girl? I thought this was a guy. My bad. I wasn't even trying to be a dick. All right. Aubrey, the girl on the podcast is calling in. All right. She's calling in. She seems like she's laughing at it. I don't know.
Gary.
Hello, Aubrey.
Hi, Gary.
How
are
you doing?
How you doing, kid?
Yeah, love you.
Oh, well, thank you.
Even though you think I would come up and kick you in the shins.
Well, I have pretty low shins too, so
And you guys are both pretty short, so I wouldn't really be coming after our community. I'm kidding. No.
I mean, they don't seem that distraught. They seem to think it's funny. They clearly know what's going on here. Like, the bit is these two people. Is it a guy? I don't even know. I can't tell you. I mean, they have their shirt off in an Instagram post, so it must be a guy, right? They have their shirt off with their pecs out. So I think Aubrey is a guy. I think they mistakenly called Aubrey a girl. But, I mean, the whole bit is like these guys are, you know, quote unquote scared of little people. They make fun of them a lot. And then they bring a little guy on to have a conversation with them.
No, Jimmy, the comments that you made, you weren't really serious. Like, you don't actually dislike little people, right?
This is an act. It's
Exactly,
an act.
exactly.
And I'm a loving, big-hearted, nice guy that does a comedy act, which is being offensive and creating controversy and havoc and pandemonium and mayhem. And I don't mean anything I say. So
No,
if people actually think I'm racial and I hate Jews and I don't like Italians and I don't want blacks around, you're out of your mind. It's an act to be.
You're out of your mind, dude. All right. He's not truly based in that way. All right. He loves them all. He loves the blacks. He loves the Jews and Italians as well. He's not racist against Italians either. It's all a joke.
Entertaining and have fun. And that's simply all it is. My comedy's intended to laugh at ourselves, which people don't want to do anymore, and to have fun. If you guys accept it in that matter, I'm grateful. If you're not, I would tell you to fly Ozark Airlines. That's the.
What is this joke? What is Ozark Airlines? Was there a crash, I'm guessing? Ozark Airlines Flight 650 was a regularly scheduled flight on December 20th, 1983. Aircraft struck a snowplow on the runway and burst into flames. The snowplow's driver was killed and 2 flight attendants were injured. All right. So he's telling them to get bent, basically. I gotcha.
Feeling where the pilot says, we're up. No, it's just intended to laugh at ourselves, Aubrey. That's all it is.
Right. No, yeah, trust me, I've been performing since in the entertainment industry, in the circus since I was 4. Now I do stand-up comedy. Trust me, I was not offended. And I think.
What? They literally said they weren't offended. Wait, so in this video they were
So
acting
there was
like
a podcast that I was on one time.
they're acting like this is like a moment they came on to educate them, and they didn't think that there was any bullying or making fun of them. But then immediately on the podcast they're like, "Oh, I know it's jokes. I don't really care. I don't give a shit. It's fine." This fucking midget is lying about his experience on the H3 podcast. He literally is. That's literally what he's doing.
I could tell it wasn't really a serious comment to begin with.
No, and none of my Aubrey comedies are intended to offend people. It's shock comedy to make people laugh because nobody does the politically incorrect comedy anymore and the fun stuff. And I feel, I have to keep it alive. Rickles did it. Joan Rivers did it. And Dangerfield, he self-deprecated, but he did a little bit too. But I think, in all fairness to our generation, I think we have to keep things alive. I really do for us.
I cancel culture.
Thank you for lumping me in there with you.
Middle-aged people, as Dr. Greg would say.
But just a quick question. So besides the joke,
Okay, so right off as they come into the podcast, they know they've been joking about midgets. They know they've been joking about little people. The entire point of the bit is for them to come on, okay, after they know that there's all these jokes being made. They say they're fine with the jokes. They think they're funny. They've been in the comedy and entertainment industry for a while, and they're cool with it, okay? But in this video, they were like, I didn't expect it to be anything like that. I just wanted to come on and educate people.
jokes and stuff, I just wanted to get your frame set. Do you actually know any people with dwarfism?
I didn't hear what you said. Do I know
Any people?
with dwarfism? Do you know any?
Yes, I do.
This is like a
Okay,
South Park
do you know
bit.
them like personally, like as a friend, or more of like in a business?
I have patients.
Okay, who are little people?
Well, you call them little people. We call them midgets. But yes, little people. Yeah, I have
Okay.
2 of them.
And then Gary, what about you?
I do not, I'm afraid. But
And I didn't do that joke on them, Aubrey, in the office, by the way.
Jimmy Carter just died. Thank God.
I know, Jim.
Because I'm a dentist in the office, not the comedian.
I
Oh,
think,
wow.
though,
Yeah.
that pretty good progress has been made in terms of what people call little people. You know, it seems like people pretty easily moved over to not using dwarf, midget, any of the what turned out to be, kind of negative connotations to you guys. And I think you hear little people a lot. I think it's really been one of the more successful rebrandings of a group, and people should be entitled to be called whatever they want to be called.
What do you think? What has been your? Because I mean, to be honest, like not in a negative way, but you do come from a very different generation where there was very different representations, obviously, of little people. Even medically speaking, doctors used to still use the word midget, even though midget's never been. There's no such thing as a midget. We are people with dwarfism, and there's hundreds of types of dwarfism. That some are 4'9".
Okay, so they are coming on with the intent to educate a little bit, but which is fine if they want to do that, if that's what they want the segment to be. But the biggest thing to me is like, you're coming on a comedy podcast. You know that they've been making fun of midgets for a long time. I wouldn't have any expectation that Jimmy Lee or this guy would have any impression that you're coming on to educate or that they have to respect that or care, right? And right from the get-go, you said, I knew they would make a lot of jokes about little people. I thought it was funny, right? I think it's cool. I've been in the entertainment industry for a long time. I don't care about the jokes. That's totally fine.
Some are 2'5". You know, I'm 3'10". There's
Aubrey,
a
can I ask you a question?
Ethan let
Now you're
himself
talking
go.
about this. I'm listening. How tall do you think Abraham Lincoln was? Just
I
take
was
a guess.
He's 6'4". I was just watching something.
Nope, he was 4'9". The hat was a foot and a half. He was a dwarf. So there you go. And exactly
actually, and
exactly
here's
communicates what you're talking about. I'm the only one
This Aubrey guy clearly thought it was funny.
that knew that. I was at the goddamn
Here's the thing,
assassination,
Jimmy,
Zach and I.
He's not a dwarf. There are people.
He
who
was
are
a dwarf. I have all the information
What
from
dwarf-
Zach.
what dwarfism
He
does
has it,
The
dude.
hat was a foot and a half.
What
Yes.
dwarfism does he have? What form of dwarfism?
You call Mary Todd, you talk to her. I'll have her take your call. She's still here.
No. Let's be productive though, for real. Because I do feel like the only instance and what was made me so interested to talk to you is just because I understand what you're doing. Like
I appreciate it because you're in the entertainment business.
Right. But entertainment also still has to have a reason behind it, right? Like the things we say and the things that we do are supposed to reflect ourselves, what we believe in, what we.
I mean, not necessarily, actually. I think you can do comedy for the sake of it. I feel like a lot of comedians that I like, I'm not a huge comedian head, but when I've seen, I was watching the Norm Macdonald show last night. I don't think that anything he was saying had anything to do with any belief he has. I think it's just him fucking around and trying to be funny. I don't think your comedy has to reflect anything. But this is something you see a lot now. It's like every piece of entertainment has to reflect some greater belief or some critical understanding of the world. You can't just make jokes. You can't just be a funny guy. You can't just do comedy for the sake of trying to make people laugh. Everything has to have some kind of agenda behind it.
We hope others would as well. Regardless if it's clickbait humor, regardless if it's something, it's meant to invoke some form of a, hey, I agree with that guy. So my only question was just if you do.
I don't think them making fun of midgets is designed to have any kind of greater political implication outside of making fun of someone that obviously looks funny.
You know, little people, and you're not really scared of them, then why do you see maybe why it would be a little bit, not even problematic, I want to use is the word, but do you see how
offensive you're going to say?
No, not offensive, because there are little people who literally voluntarily will go and participate in things that are degrading, like all of the actors in every movie you've seen where they're making fun of little people, like they voluntarily signed up.
Micro wrestling.
Just like there are comedians who are little people who make horrible jokes about, even worse than what you've said, about our own community. Right. So it's not about offense. I'm just more like, from my perspective, I'm someone who for the last year has had a disability hate group on YouTube who is
a disability hate group? What is the disability hate group? What does that mean? Is there a disability hate group out there that's coming after this guy every single day, targeting him?
Trying to do what you're doing in terms of like edgy comedy, edgy humor, but has gone as far as leaking my information just because I'm a little person.
Okay, well, if those people are real, if they are real, that sucks. Whatever the disability hate group is, that sucks. You shouldn't have your info leaks, but like, that is not these guys' fault. They are making jokes at your expense and moving on. If you're going through Aubrey Smalls' personal information, you shouldn't be doing that. But these guys' actions have no reflection or bearing on that. They're just making jokes. You can make jokes without going after someone's personal life.
You literally search the internet to find people like me who are just living our lives.
Aubrey, let me give you an example. I got an uncle.
What is he talking about?
Let me finish. I promise. I will be
Well, I
sure.
want to validate something about a
You don't need
relative
to.
of mine.
No. I'm not. You don't need to validate, and you don't need. I'm just saying what. From this perspective of someone who has gone on this journey and have had, I've literally been talking to little people in my community who have been backup dancers for the biggest singers, who have been on Broadway, who are, in movies, who are every single day passing by people on the street who have that type of humor of, if they're little people, I'm scared of them, but if you're close to my crotch, you might as well suck it. It seems as if you don't really understand, but just want to acknowledge that.
What are you supposed to understand? Okay, so you're going on to say that them making jokes is funny, you think it's funny, but they need to understand little people and their plight more or something? Need to understand midgets and their plight? I just don't really understand. Like, this is so fucking cringe. Disability hate group, are they taking new members? That's a great question. He has a hate watcher that shits on over content lolcow style. It seems like that, but you just ignore those people and you're fine. Like, this guy has a big TikTok. He's got, how many followers on Instagram? He's got 90K followers on Instagram. You don't have to acknowledge these people or respond to them. You can just fucking ignore it and you're fine. It doesn't matter. Like, just turn off the fucking phone. If there's people who are trying to leak his personal info or harassing him in real life, that's pretty bad, but oh my God, bro. What the fuck is that? What are you doing, dude? I gotta get off that.
You will continue making them because you make them about everybody, which I understand. But do you see how maybe that would have like real world implications for a group that has no representation?
I understand.
What do you mean no representation? You just said you guys are in a bunch of movies. I love Elf. I love Peter Dinklage in Elf. He did a great job. What representation do you need? You're fucking short. That's it. You need a step stool.
Ever shown in a sexual or violent manner. Like David Dobrik was showing videos with tens of millions of views, inspiring millions of kids, where they were putting little people in objects and hitting them with cars. They were pretending like.
Do you think that David Dobrik's videos caused a massive wave of children who watch his videos hitting midgets with cars? Is there a hitting midgets with cars epidemic? I have not heard anything about this. I've not heard of this anywhere. Is this some widespread epidemic, or is this just you saw the video and you thought that it was offensive or something?
They were hurting them, making comments kind of similar to what you're making. So I'm saying, even just as a comedian, I really just don't think that's the lane you want to go down.
Okay, I got you.
Like, do you see at least where it would come into like outside of entertainment spaces, how people would be affected by that? And it wouldn't be like, I'm offended by what Jimmy said, but more like some guy on the streets taking pictures and following me because he heard you make a joke and he likes you.
Why would a random guy on the street following you and taking pictures of you, how would his actions be anything related to fucking Jimmy Lee? Some unhinged schizo who is following you on the street taking photos of you. That is not Jimmy Lee's fault. That is not Elf's fault. That is not the Wolf of Wall Street where they throw a fucking midget at a dartboard. That is not their fault. You shouldn't be doing that to people in real life. You can make fun of them in fucking comedy. It's comedy. The point is to make people laugh. That is it.
And he's like, oh, that guy also scared of midgets. Let me go take a picture of this midget. Like, do you see that correlation?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Because I don't think you're that person, but as someone who's literally making a movie right now about how YouTube allows people to follow us around who sometimes are minors and go around calling us all of these names.
YouTube? What do you mean YouTube allows it? Are there YouTube channels dedicated to following midgets around on the street? Is that real? If that's real, that is kind of fucked up. I don't know if that's real, though. I've never heard of that, ever. Can anyone fill me in on this?
Because they can, which is fair, but that aren't even names that are reflective of a medical condition, that are literally just a slur. Like midget, there's no such thing as a midget. Like you can't go to a doctor and be like, my kid's a midget, like help them. They're not gonna go, what type of dwarfism do your child have?
What type of dwarfism do your child has? The midget kind. I don't know. I'm not a fucking doctor. I'm a YouTube streamer. Midget isn't even just, I don't even find the term midget that funny. It's just like the word that I know to use. It just, like, when you think dwarfism, you think a bunch of different things. When you think midget, you know what you're thinking of. You're thinking of this guy. Okay, you're thinking of the guy in Elf.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's why I was like, I don't think you want to die in the rabbit hole of using the word midget, you know?
I got you. I got you. And
I don't think you want to die in the rabbit hole of using the word midget. I want to. Kill me.
Zach's been telling me to quit for years. I may have to take his advice.
I don't think you should quit, but I definitely think you should realize that comedy can be sustained without literally using someone else as a punching bag.
I mean, comedy can be, but sometimes someone is a little bit of a punching bag, and it's kind of funny. People make fun of other people all the time. People are always the butt of a joke. Make fun of fat people, okay? Make fun of heroin addicts. Make fun of anything. Anything can be funny. Doesn't mean you hate those people or want them to fucking die. Doesn't mean that you support some random guy on YouTube who is unrelated to any of these people who is following around midgets, apparently, with a camera and filming them. I don't know who this midget David Attenborough documentarian is, okay? And here we have the wild midget. Notice how he struggles to reach the pedals in his car. He can't even reach the gas tank to pop it open and fill up his F-150. It's a strange being. Like, I don't know who this guy is, but...
Plenty of other jokes. I don't have to use the midget joke.
I don't think that there's... I still think, because I've watched...
So this guy gets called in to chastise them about using the word midget?
Shows like Family Guy where they've mentioned little people. Are those jokes written by people with disabilities? No. But
Do they need to be? Do jokes about disabled people need to be written by people with disabilities? Nobody ever complains about black people writing jokes about white people, okay? Nobody ever complains about that. Everybody always complains about white people writing jokes about black people. Okay, they say it's racist. Nobody ever complains about people writing jokes about white people, which you should be able to do, because white people are, like any group, fucking corny. Okay? I live in one of the whitest areas in the country. I've become anti-white by living here, okay? I hate soccer moms. I hate women in their Peloton bikes. I hate Lululemon. I hate Athleta, okay? I hate every Honda CRV I see, all right? Jokes about white people are funny. Jokes about black people can be funny. Jokes about midgets can be funny. And it doesn't have to be written by the person from that fucking demographic. That's so stupid. And you don't have, when you write a joke, it doesn't necessarily mean you're communicating that that person should be excised from fucking society. Nobody actually thinks this. If you do, you're an unhinged person. And this is like 0.0000001% of the population. Those people will be unhinged anyway.
I think you can still pull it off if you have done the research on the community. You know the things that are stereotypes and not true, and you know the things that are
Couldn't it be me, Tom? I'm a snow bunny soldier. Respect, brother.
Subjective, and you understand that, you know, we're still people at the end of the day, and as you said, everyone can be joked about. I think if you were just to delve into that a little bit more, then I don't think anybody would care that you were making those comments. I just think it's the offhandedness and the fact that you're just quick to move on to another joke where
So what does he need to say for every midget joke? He needs to say, but of course they're all real people and we love midgets so much. Like, that kind of defeats the joke, doesn't it? That kind of destroys the joke.
get followed in stores, and I have someone online literally who's been stalking and threatening and harassing me to thousands of people every week just because I have dwarfism. And he calls it what? He calls it Midget Wednesday. So that's why I'm like, I just don't think you would.
Midget, what is Midget Wednesday? Can we look this up now? Midget Wednesday. This is a song? Every day is Midget Day for JJ Stoner?
It's Midget Wednesday, our favorite time of the week. The only time we still get treated like freaks. We throw a little party, we throw a little shade. I'm in the Midget Mafia, I just got made. I'm down to earth,
The Midget
I'm
Mafia.
kind of alone.
Whoa! It's Elvis!
That's why I like to hang with JJ Stoner. We smoke a little bowl, our eyes are getting glassy.
Whoa.
I want to get high. Toss me. Midget.
This is crazy. Is this the Midget Wednesday channel? This guy just uploads like comedy clips and songs. What is Midget Wednesday? I looked at Midget Wednesday. I found something on Rumble.
Didn't see it like that. And the
What is this? Is this Midget Wednesday by JJ Stoner? We've got an FBI warning here.
but this is going to involve direct physical harm, either through cat or we are deploying traps tonight.
What is going on?
This.
Whoa! Okay. My bad. Didn't know that was there, YouTube. My bad. We're not going to be watching Midget Wednesday. We're not going to be watching Midget Wednesday. Didn't realize that's what that was. Maybe that's the Midget Wednesday guy that's harassing this dude. I don't know. I don't know who Midget Wednesday is. He said he would be deploying traps. I don't know if that's anti-midget technology. I don't really know what that is, but we try to explore a little bit.
Want to be associated with
No,
that
I
word
don't.
and
I'm going to
people.
let that one go.
Jimmy, this is an iconic conversation then. You realize.
We're letting it go after listening to you. I got you.
He's only
Loud
going
and clear. Loud and clear.
He's only going to tell little people jokes from now.
No, I'm not ever going to do a little people joke again.
He's
We're
walking
gonna
it back,
knock that
dude.
off the docket, hon.
What the hell?
No, I feel like you're lying to me, Jimmy.
She thinks I'm
That's what I'm
lying.
saying.
Your
What do you-
reputation
What is
precedes
on Jimmy's head?
you.
My reputation
No,
precedes myself.
I feel like this was no. I just know that you're a very opinionated person.
I have
think
histrionic
that-
personality disorder. I have another funny joke about little people.
Go for it. Tell me. Let's go through all of
Uh-oh.
them. I'll give
You
you.
want
the,
you want it? You want it?
So, okay. So Aubrey clearly here does find the jokes funny, but I guess wanted to educate him or something about how he needs to make the jokes with a caveat to not cause distress to midgets or something. Jimmy Lee said he would walk it back, but now he's coming back with a joke.
Yeah,
You're
it's
one.
the only time
You're
you're
one
ever
black
gonna
girl
get
that's not going to
this.
play basketball. That I know. That's
But
cute
not
without
funny.
being too
No,
fresh.
That's not funny because there's professional people with dwarfism playing.
No, I threw a
Yeah.
curveball because you dared me. You made me do it.
Okay, it has to be a good curveball though, Jimmy.
Was it a
Come
bad
on.
curveball?
Little sidebar going on?
Sure.
Oh,
Yes,
cool.
are.
Sidebar.
Hit me
Okay.
with it.
Aubrey, thank you for calling in.
Wait, what was that sidebar, guys? What just happened?
Well,
He
if we
does not want me
wanted
here.
everyone to hear, we would have said it out loud.
I have histrionic personality disorder.
Yes, we did hear that. We know, Jimmy.
Right. And people with dwarfism have made you and your histrionic disorder able to function and have, the ADA is responsible for
I'm
so much.
ADD.
Right. And that's covered under the ADA.
And I
hon.
have histrionic personality disorder.
You're disabled as well.
Work with me.
You were late on the midget use because even Ethan
I
knew
was
that, but-
indecisive. Now I'm not so sure. Work with me.
I'm trying. I said to give
That's what happens when you get offended by everything. People don't want to talk to you. I mean, yeah, I don't. Apparently, dwarf isn't offensive to them because dwarf is the technical term. I just don't see why this is so bad. Like, this guy was making it out like he went on and got ruthlessly fucking bullied, but it seems like they have some camaraderie here. They're kind of getting along. And Ethan wasn't even here, so I don't see how Ethan is responsible for this whatsoever. Ethan's not even on the podcast.
me jokes, and you were like, "Bye."
If you're English, eat the muffins. I have
That's
histrionic personality disorder.
Okay, Jimmy.
You have a
okay.
doctor for me?
Why do you keep saying that?
Jimmy, what's going on? Is this registering at all? Any of this?
It is registering.
Okay.
But what are you thinking? Where's your head at? That's why I'm like, give me. I know
Well,
I don't. How is Ethan even wrapped up in this? Ethan's not even in this fucking clip.
you're-
I've definitely sworn off little people jokes.
Can you look at me without?
Apparently, this person hates the way it was edited, and if you keep watching, there are a lot of random cuts. What would the random cuts be hiding? Like, just more midget jokes? Is that it? Like, they went on and said, I don't even care about the joke, so I'm failing to understand what the problem is here. Like, what did Jimmy Lee do that's so bad, and how is that Ethan Klein's fault by extension?
Out your sunglasses and give that to me in the camera.
We're swearing off little people jokes.
Jimmy, you weren't supposed to do it that easy.
He's being sincere. He's being
I have a
honest.
zillion other jokes. You can take the little people jokes out.
Aubrey, where are you in? You're in Southern California somewhere?
I'm right now in Arizona.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Hot,
I've been spending a lot of
probably.
How's the weather out there?
It's hot, hotter than the heat that I know you were put under just now. You were shaking. You were
Aubrey.
shaking.
Aubrey.
Your face is bright red, Jimmy.
No more little people jokes.
It's the bronzer.
It's the bronzer
No,
from
I-
Olivia. Thank you for calling in.
How did they
appreciate it.
find you, by the way?
Actually, they found me because I posted on the Reddit thread, and 3.6 thousand people thought that it would be important to discuss dwarfism issues.
Awesome.
3.6
It
thousand
was,
people.
an issue with the verbiage that was being used. And
Is this like the era of the H3 podcast when they were super quote unquote woke and super lefty? Is that what this era is? When they were like trying to walk back from every single joke that was making the podcast funny in the first place? Is that what this is? Because there was a time period when Ethan was doing that, but then simultaneously he would like make jokes about how Ben Shapiro needs to go away in a certain historical event. So Ethan was doing like I've grown as a person, I don't want to make edgy jokes anymore, like apologizing for the cutie Cinderella clip, but then making jokes about, conservatives because they're the enemy or whatever. Nobody gave him shit for it.
And as someone who's watched H3 since the very
Is it offensive if I call him Lil Bro? Maybe.
beginning of this pandemic, so it's been 2.5 years now. I've watched Families. I've seen Gary lots of times. That's why I was like, yeah, it does bum me out a little bit to hear that you guys seemingly don't really care as much about people with dwarfism when you're put in a position where you have to be held accountable. I wasn't looking, of course,
he's
for you to
holding
not
them
use jokes
accountable.
about that, but I was curious to see how much you cared, and that's why I wanted your feedback. And the fact that you'd rather go to a commercial than talk about something that clearly is affecting, 100,000 people every year are born with dwarfism. 2 people like you.
It's easy to pick any single statement or issue, and look at just that. And obviously, it's impossible for us to know what you've had to deal with.
It's just so cringe. Like, imagine if I had like a spurg out every time someone called me ugly on the internet, which people do. Like, imagine if I had a spurg out every single time and was like, you can't make fun of that. It's my intrinsic attribute. Like, that would be so fucking lame. That would be so lame. Everybody makes fun of other people's intrinsic attributes. Every single person does it. Okay? Literally everybody. And this he's like demanding more airtime to promote his documentary as if he deserves that. It's so cringe, bro.
So I certainly feel more enlightened than I did when I walked in here, but it's still...
The argument that art can only depict morally right things is such a shitty take, but they had similar arguments 100 years ago. I don't know when those arguments were being made. I assume those arguments were being made from the conservative side because that used to be the thing. Like during the satanic panic, right? It was like Motley Crue needs to go away because it's influencing kids to be bad. When the Columbine happened, it was like Columbine needs to be taken as a very serious issue. Not because there's 2 mentally ill kids who did something horrible, but because they played Doom and listened to KMFDM and 9 Inch Nails and Marilyn Manson, right? That was a big thing. Like there was a big like wave in the early 2000s of like violent video games need to stop because they're making kids shoot each other.
Still something that,
it's not a documentary, it's a short film. Shut up, dude.
especially these days, we're all so stuck in our own heads. It's hard to climb into someone else's head and see where they're coming from, especially when their life experience is so different.
No, exactly. But I'm saying at the end of the day, when walking down the street, I'm just a foot and a half shorter than you.
Right.
I'm not 2 feet tall. I pay my taxes. I drive a car. I have a house.
Nobody's disputing that. Nobody's saying you don't pay your taxes or have a house, but they're saying it's funny to make fun of it's funny to make fun of your predicament there, which it is funny. You can't deny it. You can still love yourself and like yourself. I'm not saying everyone should brutally harass you on the street if someone's doing that. People make jokes about midgets because it is kind of a funny thing. Have some humility.
Relationships with only average height people. Not to say that there's not little people. I'm just saying we are normal people. This isn't a question about, can't imagine your life or can't get in your head. You're making a joke about someone who just happens to be shorter than you. That's really it. And
So what's wrong with it?
Saying that you don't really know much about this community, but we can't get in everyone's head. No, this is not about that. That's why I was trying to come on to level, just be like, as a real person, yes, I'm in the entertainment industry, but there are real people out there who are just asking for any type of representation, any type of voice where the voice is, and you're asked to, hey, are these comments about a marginalized group appropriate? And instead of going, maybe not, you ran with it. And then the shock on your face is when
Because it's fucking funny, dude. It's funny. If you came on my show, I'd call you short and kick you off, okay? That's what I would do. I'd tell you not to hit your head on the way out, but you never would. You never would. Joking. Just memes and jokes, though, as we all know.
when I entered was indicated that you do know that you were kind of messing up a little bit before. And that's why I was kind of wanting the dialogue and wanting some questions, wanting some back and forth.
Great. You called this old fucking man on stream and said that he shouldn't be able to make jokes about little people or something. Lil bro needs to grow up.
But the pushback, it's not supposed to be uncomfortable.
I feel like we're kind of going in a bit of back and forth in a circle with the parties involved, but we appreciate, you know, your perspective, Aubrey. It's been very informative and enlightening, and I hope it's resonating with people. So, you know, we appreciate you calling in and sort of.
What could they possibly say or do that would leave this person validated? I don't know. Say I respect you because you pay taxes or something. I don't fucking know what they want, to be honest with you. I think they just don't want anyone to make jokes about disabled people, I guess.
Yeah,
No, you have, because I understand. And,
Dan thought it was funny.
I feel bad. I kind of did that, and I'm not going to do it again. We don't have to talk 6 hours about it. I get
Right,
it.
no, I agree.
I apologize. I'm not going to do it again, and that's it. I'm a man. I made a mistake, and I'm not going to do it again, and I'm sorry.
Jimmy, please. I mean, only
made
thing
a
I
big
would-
Jimmy, you just went on a whole rant about how you like making jokes about black people and Jewish people and Italian people. You're going to walk those all back too? They pay taxes. Some less than others, but they pay taxes.
Mistake. And you know what? If to admit that's a big thing. So I did.
No, I agree. That's why I was
you
like,
did make progress.
Jimmy,
It's done.
okay,
So didn't you get what you wanted? I don't really understand what Aubrey's problem is.
you can
He's
stop
apologizing to you. He's on his hands and knees. He's at your eye level.
made progress.
Yeah.
And we
You
could,
did
we
make
could
progress,
end it
because
there.
for me to say I'm not going to do a joke again, you know me with my jokes.
Well,
I'm not
you
gonna
did
do a
say
little
that
people joke again.
This is reform, Jimmy. You did promise off of these types of jokes. You went right back to them.
That's
but,
partially true too, but not on that one. Not on that one.
yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
thank
I
you,
agree,
Aubrey.
guys.
Thanks,
for calling
Aubrey.
in.
like, I love talking and arguing. It's if I ever came across a certain way, please don't think that like
You clearly don't actually love talking and arguing based on what you said afterwards.
I'm gonna be sitting here like, oh, Jimmy, I couldn't like trust me. When I say that you are not offensive in the way that you talk about little people, that I hear every single day.
I find his takes really cringe here, but he's being relatively reasonable. In the clip after the fact, seems like he's just like capitalizing on the fact that H3 is in drama to try and get a bunch of attention off it. But this isn't even that bad. He literally got what he wanted. He got Jimmy to apologize.
So it's not about being offended at all.
It
And
wasn't
Gary, I'm like
harmful
huge
intended. I
fan.
just do comedy, which is what Gary just said before. That's
No, I know. No, I love it. And again, I'm a comedian, guys. Like, you don't know my humor too, so you don't know. I could be just as.
You
But
can
no,
make fun of a Jew. I'm right here. Just don't shoot me.
we don't need to make fun of anybody.
Two
that-
Jews in planning a fire.
Two Jews walk into a
There's lots
bar.
of other-
Two
there's
Jews
lots
walking
of
in a bar,
other-
and neither one pays.
There's lots of other content out there, and that's what I would just like to say as my final thing.
Well,
And
thank you. Thanks.
Thank you,
Please,
Aubrey.
Jimmy, please look up dearaverageheighpeople.com. It will have all the information about what
The
we're going
Jersey
through.
Outlaw in the house. No more little people jokes.
Just educate. That's all I can ask for. Thank you guys for having me.
Hey,
Seriously.
thank you.
so
Thanks
much,
for
Rob.
being a
Thanks
fan. And it was.
DearAverageHeightPeople.com, a documentary comedy special about dwarfism, disability hate groups, and finding your freedom. Dear Average Height People is a documentary comedy special exploring the history of dwarfism culture. Through a series of interviews and vignettes, the film marks the directorial debut of Aubrey Smalls, who will direct and star alongside producer Katrina Kemp, featuring a cast of artists with dwarfism. What is this, dude? Dear Average Height People was conceived in 2021 when Aubrey Smalls, a black man with dwarfism, found himself subjected to online attacks by a disability hate group on YouTube. After months passed with no support from YouTube, Smalls decided to take matters into his own hands and soon began developing a long-form visual response to the harassment. 3,000 views and comments turned off. Well, it seems like it was very successful, dude. It seems like this is a major success.
Mr. Taylor, Aubrey Smalls.
Uh-oh. Time
Oh,
to
this
get
is the guy.
Everyone's like, hey, JJ, you love every midget. No, I don't. There's midgets out there that I hate. This is quickly becoming one of my most hated ones.
He's a midget hater. So he made a video about how there's a guy that gets like 100 viewers on his fucking streams who doesn't like midgets or something.
I got it. It was so worth it, man. I was staking that midget out for like 30, 40 minutes. Oh, was it worth it?
Is this the guy who follows midgets around? This is the midget hate group guy?
Those might be the smallest
midgets I've ever seen.
Whoa! Is that Washington Square Park? I think I went there for a party at Juilliard one time when I was in college. I think that's what that is.
You won't believe it, dude. There's a midget, dude, playing pickleball. Get the shot, get the shot. Take a hand. No, make it obvious. Make it look like I'm doing some shit, you know? Yeah. There he is. Look at that.
This guy's just a midget stalker. All right, well, that is a little bit funny, but that guy is kind of fucked up. That is kind of twisted. He just follows midgets around.
Midget gay vampire hunter, and you can't get more than 100 subs.
Oh, God. What is happening?
Is he trying to be a sexy midget? You might be a midget, but that ass ain't.
Aubrey Taylor, Aubrey Smalls, Aubrey Taylor, Aubrey Smalls, Aubrey.
This seems like a terrible teaser trailer, to be honest, dude. At the end of the day, average height people and people with dwarfism are all the same. Our film raised $22,000, really? You can help us make it a reality by donating today at www.averageheightpeople.com. I don't think this is a very good film. Okay, so...
And it was a horrible experience.
Just to be clear, if you compare what his actual experience was when he went on...
No, I will not be naming.
If you compare what he said when he was actually on the show to what he says in this video, it's like night and day, dude. It's night and day. Like, this is clearly not reflective of how this podcast actually went.
The podcast, even though some of you definitely know what I'm talking about. But they had a segment one time with the podcast owner's dad and some comedian who, mind you, the same podcast is now accusing of SA years later. But the comedian one day was talking in a bit about how he has a phobia of little people.
I stopped watching them forever ago because of how they treat other people in the name of humor.
And they were going on and on about a lot of miseducation around dwarfism in general. So I was like, oh my God, this is the perfect time to educate people. We love a good educational moment, especially as a viewer at the time with dwarfism. So I wrote on their subreddit. I was like, hey, I'm a filmmaker and educator. I would love to come on. Do me a favor and watch this video for a few seconds and interact with it so I can make money off of this comment mocking my assault. 100 times a day!
All right, I'm not watching that. This is a crazy sort of Alice in Wonderland rabbit hole we just fell down here. All right, so what exactly is the deal here with we had his initial response, but then there's like another response he made apparently after the fact to the situation, which the podcast was not even that bad, dude. What is this video? Dwarfism history. He made another video about it apparently on the Dwarfism history account. We got to find this. I don't know if he deleted it or something.
Hi everyone, I'm going to talk about this once and then we're moving on. I posted a video today about a podcast appearance that I was on 2 years ago, and although I did not disclose the name or the podcast that I was on, the viewers have figured it out. So I wanted to address...
Yeah, you knew the viewers would figure it out. That's what you wanted. You made the video so you could act like a victim, which, by the way, what happened on that podcast was totally fine. I don't know if there's some other edit that I haven't seen that needs to be out there. If there is, you need to provide evidence of that. But realistically speaking, the podcast appearance was totally fine. A few years ago, you went on, you wanted to talk about dwarfism. You said the jokes were fine, but you have a problem with the way that, I guess, the jokes affect the general populace or something. It seems like this random podcast that mocks him has like broken his mind or something, right? Which he should just be ignoring those people, frankly. I don't like that they're following people around with a camera. That is extremely fucked up. But ultimately, the best you can do is just, I guess, report them to police if they're filming you against your will. Try to get YouTube to take action. If not, there's not much you can do about that. But that Jimmy Lee's comments have no bearing on that whatsoever. It is not his fault. And obviously, you made the video for clout. That's what you did. Ethan Klein's a full adult who says horrendous things and people treat him like he's a toddler that needs to be coddled. I'm so sick of interpersonal relationships. Okay, it is parasocial, you fucking dumbass. I'm so sick of interpersonal relationships. You're retarded.
Everyone, I'm going to talk about this once and then we're moving on. I posted a video today about a podcast appearance that I was on 2 years ago, and although I did not disclose the name...
He looks like Squidward's house.
...or the podcast that I was on, the viewers have figured it out. So I wanted to address the comments and questions in the recent Instagram post that Ethan Klein made about me a few minutes ago. This is a deeply personal and important topic for me, so I wanted to take some time to set the record straight and share my side of the story. There's been a lot of conversation from Ethan Klein's fans about me trying to clout chase by sharing this story, which again, never...
Well, ultimately, I will say... a lot of the problem here for Ethan and why he's getting shit for this stuff is partially his fault. It's because of clips like this. It's because he would say stuff like this, where he would like apologize for it. So as a result, he accumulated an audience of people who like the fact that he's apologizing and don't want to see him make those jokes anymore.
I've been with him for...
Look at the comments on this. I love how they're all on the moral high ground, but their whole audience is built around their edgy humor. As we grow up, Ethan, you were 30 making those videos. I'm a fan of H3, but Ethan saying as we've aged, we realize that we want to conduct ourselves differently is pretty rich coming from him. The old H3 content was less hit piece and funny, more funny satirization. Now, his content is largely hit pieces and drama based, and the amount he blatantly comments on other people's appearance, weight, attractiveness, etc. is alarming, and probably a projection of his deeper insecurities.
Through two content cops, and I help,
Yeah, a lot of people's, I guess criticism is like, oh, like that witch or that,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, a lot
changed
of,
him,
a
or
lot
like
of people,
things have gotten bad since they've gotten together, type thing.
A lot of people attack Anissa. People are like obsessed with.
Well, they just don't understand that she's been like helping me create videos since we got together, and a lot of the videos that people love are with her help and involvement, and it's been the same thing all the way.
The
to
Rice
now.
Gum one, I remember you were there.
Yeah.
You had a lot. You had a lot of input on that one.
Yeah, the Rice Gum one was a lot of fun.
Thank you for the
I
dono,
really
Danky Kong.
But I mean, I also take ownership for the Tana. The Tana thing was my.
Oh, that was so long ago.
Was my idea. Was my stupid idea.
Yeah.
I was the one
She
that was.
suggested like we.
There's jokes that make you laugh, and then there are jokes that are just plain mean and doesn't make people laugh. But yeah, but I don't think the delineation should be like, oh, this joke is bad because it's fucked up. It should be this joke is bad because it's not funny. It has no punchline. It has bad delivery, right? I don't think it should be like, it's only okay to make jokes about fucked up stuff if it's really, really funny.
You can go to the place. It's just in San Francisco. I'm like, it is just in San Francisco.
Yeah, that drive and everything. And now I think back
This is them apologizing for confronting Tana Mojo and him saying, say.
to it, I'm like, I can't believe we literally harassed an 18-year-old child at her show. It's like kind of.
That's I guess.
18-year-old child. She was freshly 18, dude.
That's when you put it that way.
It doesn't sound like
horrendous. Yeah.
It's horrendous.
Yeah, but Tana had gone after him first and said, how could you ever make comments about the N-word? How could you ever make jokes about, suicide when she had done that herself? And Tana doesn't even feel bad. Tana's like, yeah, I feel like I got what I rightfully deserved. I feel like I had to be humbled because I was talking out of my ass.
Probably like my most embarrassing. Like it's fucking embarrassing. But I mean, it was things that a lot of people loved. I mean.
Yeah, I mean, it was like I can recognize why it was entertaining. I could also recognize why it was completely out of line.
Yeah, she could have owned us, honestly.
Yeah, if she just acted mature.
Yeah, if she would have.
Right, it was a risky move, but she really couldn't. It's gonna turn out better for you guys how that went.
We couldn't believe that she made a video afterward and she didn't know
the
that
whole.
It was.
I'll tell you.
She had no idea. She just thought it was like a crazy fan.
It was crazy.
Poor Tana. But it's so funny because if you listen to Tana talk about this, she's like, I didn't even deserve an apology at all. Free for all, Diorio tipster Ethan oiled up 2 minutes. Who wins the twerk off? I think it would be Aubrey Small.
I'll never do.
Here we go. This is her talking about it after he apologized.
I don't know how I feel about it, because and I don't know how to say this. I'm not talking about anything in regards of the things he said, but I'm more so just talking about like his actions to me, like him showing up to my show, him kind of putting me on blast, him inevitably making me kind of canceled and lose subscribers and have to apologize and all that type of stuff. I kind of think I like deserved that. And maybe that's like dark, like to say, but like, I don't feel like I'm owed an apology. And maybe that's
like this made me like Tana Mojo way more, right? Because she recognized like, yeah, I fucked up. I called out iDubbbz for saying the N-word. I called him out for making edgy jokes when I had done the same thing and it was hypocritical of me. So I deserve to be humbled and called out in this way. I made my bed.
Because I've accepted it so much that like people always ask me if you could go back in time and like make that never happen, like would you? And I always say no, because I feel like at the time, like it was a very dark time period of my life when it came to like self-reflection and trying to figure shit out. And like I think I would be a completely different person if I didn't have that. I think it like
yeah, those dark times, those periods of self-reflection are very important for you. And I like that she said that. Meanwhile, here they're like, dude, it was so fucked up what we did to her.
Crazy when we were in the car. So we like drove and we stayed with a friend and we were driving back. We did like the 7-8 hour drive. And in the car, after everything had transpired, Ian's sitting there and I'm sitting there and I looked at him and I was like, I don't think she knew that was you.
She described you as a psycho fan in her video.
Yeah. She
That's
didn't know.
Awesome.
I
mean, that played perfectly into your video.
I think, I don't know.
We did like sort of do an impulse buy of our merch while we were there.
We did, yeah.
And we loaded up on the merch like in the line.
Right, I remember that.
Yeah.
It's like,
Oh my goodness.
yeah, it's part of like the history of like the channel and stuff, but definitely like, I mean, as almost
Yeah.
30-year-olds, or he is 30, it's like you look back on that and you're like, holy shit, I can't believe we fucking.
It was a different time back then for sure.
I don't think it's fair to say it was that different.
It was just.
I think I was different for sure.
Well, that.
It was a very different time. What are you talking about, dude? Yeah, I get you developed empathy at 33 years old or something, but it definitely was a different time on YouTube. You could get away with a lot and get monetized that you can't do now.
I think people have the same problem with me. Is it the same problem with you? Is that we both used to be like edgy comedians and we were a part of the larger commentary community. And as we've aged, we've realized that, you know, you want to conduct yourself differently.
Well, when you start...
You want to conduct yourself differently. I wonder if Ethan now would look back at this era and be like, I was fucking cringe during that. Because Ethan wasn't conducting himself differently. He was making crazy jokes about Ben Shapiro, which got him a strike on YouTube.
YouTube just nuked Ethan Klein's H3 podcast, with this all seeming to stem from Ethan saying he was going to make a joke about Ben Shapiro and then saying,
if they start rounding up the Jews again, I hope Ben gets gassed first.
with Ethan then getting hit with backlash, especially among conservative media figures, some of which called for him to be deplatformed.
Like the same era when he was saying you want to conduct yourself differently, he was saying this about Ben, which is a fine, funny joke. If you want to make that joke, you can. But you're not going to be able to make that joke while saying you conduct yourself differently now, right? People are going to give you shit for it. But at the same time, his audience was fine with that kind of joke because they said, oh, well, we like that he doesn't do edgy comedy anymore, but you can do it against Ben Shapiro. He's a conservative. He's a chud. I wonder if some people are tired of the grift. It's been a while now. Even Joji read the room. Even you and the MDE guys have toned it down. Okay, so to be clear, I'm not on the same level of edginess as the MDE guys, but it does not seem to me like the MDE guys, quote unquote, have toned it down. If you've listened to Sam's podcast ever, Sam is still pretty fucking edgy. I haven't listened to it in quite a while, but from what I remember, it was pretty edgy. Now and then I'll get a clip of my recommended that's clearly a pretty edgy clip, right? So I think that people have toned it down on the platform of YouTube. But looking back at this stuff kind of makes me wonder, like, did Ethan ever have a principal position on edgy comedy? Did he ever back in the day, or was it just because it was convenient at the time, you know? Because I understand, like, not wanting to make edgy jokes anymore if it can get you in shit on YouTube. But what I don't understand is apologizing for it gratuitously. I don't really get that. Like, if you're going to, like, be like, okay, on YouTube in 2016, you could say a lot of crazy stuff. And you can make money doing it. But now I want to make money doing YouTube, and I can't make those edgy jokes, right? I think that is fine. I think it's totally fine to do that because you want to make money on YouTube. You want to have it be your job, okay? What I don't get is like the gratuitous apologies and like bloviating. I don't really get why they felt the need to do that. Maybe it's to like maintain connections with other YouTubers. I don't really know where the pressure is coming from exactly. But you know, everything you do is like based on the audience that you build. So if Ethan had maintained his edginess throughout the years, would he get a few articles about him? Would he get a few people mad on Twitter in modern day? Yes. But his audience will still be there. The problem for him is that he made those jokes. He then walked them back. He then shit on the audience that did it, much like iDubbbz. And it's very bad. It's very bad. A lot of people made edgy jokes. Everybody understands that sometimes you make an edgy joke. Sometimes you don't really mean it, right? You don't mean to offend someone. And, you know, because obviously the point of comedy is humor. But when you make jokes, put them out into the world like that, you have to accept that sometimes they're going to make people mad. Giving this big bloviating apology for a joke that you made is not the way to do it. You just got to move on, not say anything. When people get mad at me for making edgy jokes now, I just say nothing. I just don't respond. I say nothing. It doesn't matter. It does not hurt you. The only thing that would hurt you is like YouTube punishing, something like that. Would it be concerned over advertiser loss? Just wondering. I mean, the thing is, like, advertisers aren't going to stop advertising with you because you don't make those jokes anymore, right? Like, advertisers aren't messaging Ethan like, you need to apologize for saying the N-word 10 years ago. If he does it now and says the N-word now, they might be mad at him. Sure, he might lose sponsorships. That is totally plausible. But they're not going to come to him and be like, you need to make an apology for this. They're not going to do that. But these people get on their knees and play this fucking stupid game. And that is part of why Ethan gets shit for this and why anyone even cares about this. I think being edgy inherently comes with pushback no matter the era. Early YouTube was small enough to dodge that. I mean, maybe. The thing is, like, I think that YouTube is going to a little bit of an edgier phase now because I think that people are just really fucking sick of the culture that has been created over the past few years. But it's still kind of the case where, like, you can make jokes about certain things and not other things. So, like, you can't make jokes about certain groups. You can't make a joke about how, like, Luigi Mangione murdered a CEO in broad daylight, right? Like, you can't make a joke, well, at nighttime, but you can make a joke about that, right? That's fine because it's you know, poking at power, right? It's poking at the people that quote unquote deserve it. And by the way, I think it's fine to make jokes like that. Those jokes are funny. But you should also be able to make jokes about whatever you want, basically, and people should be able to understand that it is a joke.
Never mentioned his name, and that I'm trying to capitalize off of Ethan's current situation. That couldn't be.
Oh, you never mentioned his name, so how could you be trying to capitalize when it's one of the only podcasts you've been on? It was a big appearance, and you clearly named several things in the video, like Jimmy Lee, someone who was on the show as like a guest repeatedly being accused of assault. You clearly named that so that people could figure out that it was fucking him, dude.
Further from the truth, so I wanted to make this video to explain.
Every video you make online is to some extent for clout. That clout grab can be justified, I think, but like that is what the point is.
Everything in full context. In 2022, I was the listener of a podcast, and there was one episode where they were talking about phobias and fears of little people and proper wording for people with dwarfism. At the time, they're using
I can't believe that midget is off limits, but dwarfism is the term. It's literally dwarf. Like Snow White and the Seven Dwarves. How is that the word now?
That most of us know are not appropriate, but I figured it would be a great opportunity to see if I could get on the show to talk about the proper verbiage and to educate people on dwarfism. As someone with dwarfism myself who experiences in-person and online harassment just because of the fact that I have a disability, I was hoping that this appearance would help bridge the gap of understanding and start some meaningful dialogue. Unfortunately, during the episode, I was subjected to ableist jokes and comments about little people that...
Oh no, dude. Do these guys think that if H3... or if Jimmy Lee stops making jokes about midgets, it will go away entirely? Do you think that's going to happen? Or do you instead think that the market for that stuff will always exist and it'll just move to a different platform? Like, what do you think is going to happen?
Made me really uncomfortable. I kept my composure and smiled at the time. It was really hurtful, to be honest. I didn't even know how to process it in the moment, except for doing what I do best, which is putting a smile on things and trying to spin it in a positive direction. Immediately afterwards, I emailed the crew asking...
Well, I feel so bad for you, dude.
If I could come back on the show during a live segment to talk about what I wanted to talk about in the first place, because I was worried that just the segment we had filmed would leave a bad taste in people's mouths and make them assume that I was part of this joke that I was never...
You said you were never keyed in on it, but like on the show you were laughing. You're like, oh, I just put a smile on my face. You were clearly laughing at the jokes. You thought they were funny. You said, I don't care if you want to make those jokes, but I just wish that you would add a caveat to it. And now you have a very different perspective, apparently.
Never keyed in on. So I was on the show again a few days later after the segment we had pre-filmed aired, and they played it again and then had me come on to talk about it. And I just stayed positive because I was hoping that if I was positive and I was focusing on the good, that people would forget about the segment essentially. I was hoping that by focusing on kindness and grace and showing empathy, that would go farther and people would remember me by that as opposed to what happened during that segment. Ethan and the crew talked on the show that episode.
Aubrey actually talked to Ethan later in the H3 episode, and Ethan was super nice and forgiving to him. Did that happen recently?
So the live one about how they had to edit a lot of stuff down. So I hope that maybe one day they'll release the full video so that you can see all of the jokes that
Nobody cares, low bro.
Didn't even make it into
Nobody wants to see them.
After the episode and the days following, I posted on the subreddit thanking the host and the crew for having me on because I wanted to focus on the positives, which was that the audience was actually really lovely to me. And I think really understood the message that I was trying to convey. Despite
Aubrey, the person with dwarfism who called in, thank you to Ethan, the crew, and everyone in chat for being so welcoming and respectful. And shout out to Cam for the editing. If anyone wants to donate. Wait, so everybody said it was good and Ethan was respectful? I really don't understand what his problem is. Why was he shitting on Ethan as if he did something wrong?
Having to fight people who just were refusing to see my humanity during that. I didn't want to stir up controversy because I had no followers on the internet at the time, and this podcast and the host had millions of followers, and I also hadn't fully processed what had happened since the segment
Oh, I hadn't processed what had happened. Your trauma, dude. You hadn't processed your trauma?
To come out.
I hate the buzzwords these people use, dude. Problematic. Process. Gaslighting. These words need to go. Anyone who uses those words needs to get out of my life.
I figured if I stayed kind and positive, that people would focus on the educational purpose of my appearance as opposed to everything else. As time went on, though, I reflected on that experience more and more. I realized that these ableist...
Oh, kind of related. Apparently, somebody got fucked for making a CEO joke. Obviously, the people were fine with it, but I'm surprised. I posted a Luigi meme on Shorts and lost 250k sub partnership. No previous strikes. It says forever and final. My life is over. Understand the community needs to be safe, but to completely demonetize the channel with 250k subs over a meme is a bit extreme. No prior strikes on my account either, so it was a no warning removed from partner program, and I honestly don't think a human took the time to look at my channel at all. This is my living. The support feels like bots. No one cares. 12 years down the hole for a bad joke. I've been tweeting Team YouTube on Twitter. My handle is @JesseDalba. I don't think they'll respond unless this blows up. Well, I actually feel bad for that guy then. Jesse Dalba. That sucks. I wish that hadn't happened. Considering how YouTube is right now, or how YouTube's been for a while with some of these jokes, it's not totally shocking to me that did happen. It's a little shocking, but that does suck. Kind of feel bad for him. Poor fella.
Jokes weren't just one-off harmless jokes. They were a part of a larger pattern of influencers on YouTube and social media using their platforms to perpetuate harmful jokes and ideologies about little people.
What ideology was Jimmy Lee pushing? What fucking ideology was Jimmy Lee pushing? Is there an anti-midget nationalism movement he's pushing? No, he is making jokes. And he instantly apologized.
Never once in my time since then have mentioned Ethan by name or the podcast by name or encouraged people to figure out what it is. But I have talked about this in depth on my main account, Aubrey Smalls, on TikTok, but also on Instagram as well. Now Ethan is claiming...
Dude, I never named him. I just described perfectly who it was. We're going to use a Batman example because I'm in my Batman arc right now, okay? Guys, something really bad happened to me. Basically, this guy, he's about 6 feet tall, dresses up like a bat, big pointy ears, crime fighter, vigilante. Not going to name who he is. He has a sidekick. The sidekick was recently accused of being gay and cringe. He has a red suit. He's got a green mask. And his name starts with an R. Not going to say who it is because I don't want clout. Like, what? You perfectly described the only person it could ever be. You wanted to get attention. That's why you post things online. If you didn't want attention for it, you would message him. Bro has a short temper, obviously. Good one.
Claiming that he has proof that I was okay with the appearance, and people are upset because I've deleted the posts today on Reddit and Instagram celebrating the appearance. And that's honestly just because those posts don't accurately represent how I feel, and I feel that they're being used to invalidate my experiences and to ignore the fact that there was a lot of ableist rhetoric going on. That
Ableist
the
rhetoric
was harmful, regardless if people
How was it harmful?
think it was a joke or not, and that those posts are not...
How is it harmful? If everybody watching knows it's a joke, they're all in on the joke. It's collectively, like, this isn't like an audience that like has some subversive crypto midget haters, right? This is like an audience where everybody knows it's a joke. It's a comedy podcast. How was it harmful? How the fuck was it harmful? In what world is someone named Daniel Wenchel an influencer? Are you talking about Dan Henschel? That guy's funny.
Not proof of anything, but those moments right after the podcast where I was trying to stay positive and pivot in a more positive direction. For those calling me a clout chaser or saying that I'm hopping on a hate train because the host is currently under some controversy, that is just so far from the truth. I've been speaking about this for years now and never once mentioned the name or the podcast, which would be something you would do if you were looking...
So you've been speaking about it for years. You weren't looking for clout. You just happened to post it during a time when H3 wasn't controversy. And in the fucking video you made about Ethan, you specifically said, and now the host is crashing out and losing his career, which clearly denotes the fact that you were taking advantage of the opportunity you had here because a lot of people hated Ethan to ride the hate wave. Just admit it. Stop lying.
This is about advocating for fairness and respect, not about hating or canceling people.
If it was advocating for fairness or respect, why would you not message Ethan, be like, let's have a conversation, instead of making a TikTok video about how you felt disrespected and not even naming the person? Okay, clearly you wanted them to be figured out, but if you didn't want it to be figured out, okay, wouldn't that defeat the purpose of advocating for fairness or respect? Because nobody even knows what you're talking about. They can't even see the clip and how truly bad it is. Bro's invalidated experiences consist of not being able to reach the cereal on top of the fridge. All right, bro.
People. I understand that fans of the podcast may feel defensive or upset, but I urge you to see it from my perspective as someone who is subjected to hurtful language about literally my body and the way it looks every single day, and then to have that put into a video form with 1.1 million views as of today. Just because one audience might see a set of jokes, funny or harmless, doesn't negate the fact that they can be harmful to the larger disability community. There is no timeline.
The disability community.
For when you're allowed to feel uncomfortable by a situation where, regardless if you want to admit it, ableism was perpetuated.
Oh my God, dude. There's no timeline. Okay, so what you're saying is if you're comfortable with it at the time and you have no issue, okay, and you later communicate you did have an issue, you should expect the host to grovel and apologize on their fucking knees and suck your, whatever this individual has, okay? That's what you should expect. You can make so many horrible analogies to this. Oh, you're okay with any interaction you have at the moment, but afterwards you're upset about it, so you should just expect that that person realizes that, and you can make a post calling them out, getting 1 million views, saying that they were ableist the entire time.
And I think especially at the time, I think it's a very normal experience for people to have, to sometimes freeze up in the moment and go, I'm just going to play along because I just want to get out of the situation, and I don't want this to be forever how people perceive me. Which again, explains why I was trying...
What do you mean, I don't want this to be forever how people perceive me? If you're upset and you're willing to talk about it, you should be okay with being perceived that way. You should just be honest with your intentions instead of Like, this guy's literally admitting, like, yeah, I went on the podcast. I basically cowered to the situation. I didn't want to start shit, but afterwards I decided to express a major issue with it.
And to be so positive afterwards and thankful.
Why bring this up now? Because H3 is in shit, and this is a convenient time to do it.
I never want to burn bridges with anybody, which is why I think
I never want to burn bridges with anybody. Meanwhile, you just said, I'm glad to see that the host is crashing out and that some guy that made fun of me for being short is accused of sexual assault, being Jimmy Lee, right?
the crew, still thank the podcast host for allowing me the opportunity to come on. I know some people are also asking, why didn't you tell him you were uncomfortable? Why didn't you tell him to take the video down? And I would encourage you to think about power dynamics and how those come into play when...
Oh my god, dude. They're hitting every fucking buzzword. We're onto power dynamic now.
Someone like me, who's already marginalized...
Oh my god, no!
...and on the internet, who has no platform, telling someone with millions of followers to take a video down. And mind I tell you, I did say that I was uncomfortable with the episode that we filmed, which is why I wanted to come back on again.
And they brought you on. What power dynamic is there in a DM with that guy? Apparently the Reddit thought the episode was so respectful they were posting about how awesome it was that you came on the show and weren't even giving Ethan shit for it. What power dynamic? Just message him. He was clearly pretty respectful to you based on those Reddit posts. Just message him about it.
How many times have you been at your job and maybe your boss or manager...
Ethan's not your boss or your manager. He is a podcast host who has no financial hold over you.
...has said something to you that you have not agreed with or not felt comfortable with, but you didn't feel like you could tell them directly, hey, don't do that again, please. Power dynamics are a real thing, especially when it comes to influential figures. I thank the people who continue to fight against ableism. It means the world to me knowing that so many of you care so deeply about things like this and want to see an equal and inclusive world for all where nobody would find jokes about phobias of disabled people in our bodies appropriate or something that should be platformed. And despite the comments on Reddit being made about me in an ableist way, despite the DMs and messages that I'm getting and comments on these videos, I encourage you to move with kindness in response to them because there's not going to be any good done by fighting fire with fire.
Well, how brave of you, dude. How brave. Well, I think that's pretty bad. I'm curious how Papa Gut feels about it. Usually he has pretty decent takes from what I've seen, so I'm curious how he felt about the situation overall. I'm curious what his takes were.
Name or the podcast that it was on, the viewers have figured it out. So I wanted to...
Well, yeah, I think you kind of knew that was going to happen, though.
...address the comments
being negative to them, but a lot of emotional energy and like getting it out. And after that, may have felt a little like frustrated with the experience and maybe remembering it through that frustrated lens, which is fair. I can respect that. But from what I saw, it didn't seem that bad.
In 2022, I was a listener.
True.
That he was a comedian. And usually there's an understanding of comedians, even though Jimmy Lee is not a comedian. He's not funny at all. He just says bigoted stuff for attention. He literally admits that he says it for attention. He's like, I just say outrageous stuff so that people, for controversy, so people will look at my stuff. He's not a professional comedian. He's a professional dentist. So, I mean, I wouldn't want this guy in my mouth, but apparently it doesn't matter because he'll do it anyway.
Okay, that's the Jimmy Lee allegations there. Bro trying to speak for my brother with cerebral palsy. Oh, cerebral palsy. That's is that one of the muscular ones that it's related to your brain, but it causes your brain and muscles to stop connecting? That's a bad one. One of my buddy's dads from when I was really young, I think, has that. It's pretty dark.
So that's a little hyperbolic, but I think he groped the girl, which is pretty gross. Anyway, but when you keep saying that you're a comedian, a lot of comedians have this idea that like, if you're a comedian, you can handle jokes more. Because, like, you know, I'm a fat guy, so, like, I'm not a comedian, but I think I'm kind of funny sometimes. So, like, I'm usually better at receiving jokes than other people, right? If that's kind of part of the thing that...
It seems like Papa Gut's ultimately kind of falling on the same side that I am. He's being a little more nuanced, but...
Also a larger creator, and so people have more eyes on you. So in the same way where you're saying, like, he's a big creator, I felt like I couldn't say anything. In the other vein, like, he's a big creator. He has a very left-leaning audience, even at the time when he was trying to be funnier. I think that this message, especially this is post-2020, which was a very progressive time, which is not a bad thing. But I mean, this was 2022. We were still in a very progressive time. If you had said something, the audience would have been more charitable, and I don't think Ethan would have been able to get away with like, oh, fuck you, fuck yourself. So I don't think it's as black and white as well. He's a bigger creator, so I never could have won against them. I don't think that that's true because even right now, he's still a larger creator and you feel comfortable coming forward because the atmosphere is more on your side. He is having a public crash out about other topics, which we don't have to get into now. So like, where's that power dynamic now? Well, you know that people aren't a big fan of him right now. He is on his break. He can't respond immediately. I mean, I guess he technically could, but he's going to wait till he comes back. So like the odds are a little bit in your favor right now. What about that power dynamic? Even if I don't know who's right or wrong, it seems like Ethan's more in the right based on this. But again, that's a very heavily edited, or there is an edited members only thing that we can't see. It doesn't exist. But it seems like despite the fact that he has the power over you, he's a bigger creator, it seems like you actually have power over him.
He does, because the people that hate Ethan, that audience is ravenous. They are excited to see him fall, right? That's exactly what they want. They're looking for any reason, frankly. And even this, right, where Ethan didn't even say anything. Ethan was not really involved in that particular clip I saw anyway. If there is some other podcast, I would like to see that. I don't know where that is. But it doesn't seem like it was like some horrible, terrible thing. Like Jimmy Lee wasn't even that bad. He literally apologized as soon as this guy got on. It was like, all right, fair enough. I won't make jokes like that anymore. I get it. He gave like a little bit of pushback. He was like, oh, I don't make jokes about it. But then, he walked it back pretty quickly. So let's see the comments. This person pitched the idea. The whole concept was theirs. Only by forgetting the actual situation could you possibly see them as a victim. The crew thought it was a bad idea, but they trusted Aubrey. It's so gross. This guy is such a coward. He was saying that the crew was making fun of him and laughing at him, but when people started pointing out the show was public and nothing he said is true, he made a post on Instagram and the H3 subreddit being thankful and getting donations from the H3 community, so he started deleting all the posts. These people on the subreddit took screenshots of the Reddit post before he deleted them, so you can see the deleted post that said deleted in their username, and the screenshots still have their username on it. Another day, another clout-chasing crybaby jumping on the Ethan hate train.
That's an interesting conversation to have. Like, how many of those average type people don't fetishize them? You know what I mean? Like, it's got to be hard as like a little person to find somebody to not fetishize.
Is anybody fetishizing little people? I don't know what those people are doing. But yeah, based on this, I mean, it seems to me like pretty much everything that I've seen is pointing towards Aubrey being an opportunistic clout chaser who's jumping on the Ethan hate train. And, part of that hate train is Ethan's fault, as we demonstrated here, for sure. And I think that's a valid point to make. But at the same time, like, fuck this guy. This guy says, I'm really confused about this call-out post. I saw this TikTok by a disability educator I follow and really respect, and it sounded like they were talking about this. Here's the link. Oh, we found the original live, actually. So we can actually watch the original episode. This is where Aubrey called in with Ethan, so we can actually watch this. All right, interesting. I do want to see that because we actually found it. I went back and rewatched the segment. I felt like it was really enlightening and respectful conversation. Aubrey was listening to the whole conversation and wasn't brought in by surprise. The crew seemed to be respectful and open-minded for the most part. I don't know. I'm confused. Does anyone think this might be a different podcast? If this is a mischaracterization, I'm really disappointed in this creator. You can literally go back to his Reddit history and see how grateful he was to be on the podcast. Also, when he taught Jimmy Lee about dwarfism, I personally thought it was a great moment for everyone watching. He also came on the next day and I did an interview with Ethan, and the vibes were great. And Ethan helped him report a YouTube channel that was harassing him in public. Okay, so that was them reporting the crazy dude, right? Basically. So this is the first thing we saw with Jimmy Lee was the first day he went on, and this is the next day that he went on, basically, right? This is because he asked to come on again and basically talk about his thing, and Ethan graciously allowed him to do that. I'm very, very perplexed by what this guy's issue is, but I think at the end of the day, the only conclusion I can really draw is that he's full of shit. That's basically what I'm taking away from this. All right, what is your guys' take so far in this situation? Is there anyone in chat who disagrees with me? Do you think this guy is actually valid and Ethan's really fucked up? I hate thee, but he's a bigger creator victim argument. It's always that victimhood shit. It's always like, how could I ever speak up about the H3 podcast? I'm really not sold by this Aubrey guy's story. What's going on with Birdie right now? I like Aubrey's stuff. I can see where he's coming from. What do you mean by that, Eve? I feel like his first video was very confident, but the second was the what was me type deal. Well, the first one was like him coming out swinging. The second one was like, I'm a victim, right? That's ultimately the way he swung it. It seemed like he was never trying to get Ethan and shit in the first place. He was never trying to get clout off of it. Like, you know, your favorite Robin is? I don't know. I don't really have a real preference, to be honest. I honestly probably prefer Batman alone more than Batman with any sidekicks, but yeah, kind of a Robin hater a little bit. I like the Red Hood. Jason Todd, that's cool, I guess. This person will never be able to have their idealistic society because no matter what they want, they will have their victimhood mentality. But the thing is, these people's ideal society, I don't know enough about Aubrey. Maybe I'm speaking out of my ass here, but a lot of these guys, they'll complain about jokes about certain quote-unquote marginalized groups. But if white people were marginalized, they would never have a problem, or they would never have a problem with jokes being made about them because they're white, right? And in their opinion, you can never be racist against a white person. You just can't, no matter how crazy things get. And keep in mind, I'm not one of these, like, you know, I'm not a white nationalist, not a white identitarian. I have no real attachment to myself as a white person. But I'm certainly not ashamed of being white. And I also think that you should be able to make jokes about any group that you want because it's funny. Tom has white pride. I wouldn't say that. I just don't have white hatred. I don't have white self-hatred. I don't feel responsible for the actions of other people's ancestors. My ancestors had nothing to do with slavery. I don't think the people whose ancestors did should feel bad about it either. It's not their fault. Your great-great-great-great-great-grandfather has nothing to do with you. He's just your genetic mate. He's just like genetically related to you on a technical level. I don't know if you guys know what the Turks did to Bulgarians. It wasn't very nice. You don't hear me talk about that. I've never heard my mom talk about it or give a shit. Or her mom, for that matter. I don't hate Turkish people because of that. I don't think you can't make jokes about Bulgarians because the Turks were mean to them, the Ottoman Empire. Who cares? Get the fuck over it. They enslaved them? They did. Hassan should pay you reparations. Good idea. All my friends, I was out with my friends last night. They were like, my ancestor I'm the direct descendant of one of the people that founded Montreal. I'm like, I'm the direct ancestor of a bunch of fucking losers in Europe. I have no royalty in my ancestry as far as I know. I've never done a 23andMe, but I don't want them to have my DNA. But your ancestors were Bulgarian slaves. I mean, all of Bulgaria, yeah. If you ever look up Ottoman Empire, Bulgarian slavery, there's some interesting info. The Ottoman Turks sold Greek and Bulgarian war captives to the Italian slave traders in the slave market of Venetian Crete during the Ottoman conquest of the Balkans. There were also slaves taken which were legally not considered legitimate targets of enslavement. There was a whole slave trade in the Balkans. The Turks said, you guys are done. Albanian children, termed anime is the term they use in this Wikipedia article, were sold to Venice since the Albanians were not bogomils, but neither Orthodox or Catholic, and therefore not officially deemed legitimate for enslavement. They were officially not categorized as slaves, but sold as bondservants, which formerly claimed to be contract workers. We fucked them up, dude. Not very nice, was it? Maybe I deserve reparations from Hassan. All right. With that being said, we have the H3 podcast episode, which apparently is the one that Aubrey Smalls went on that he felt so disrespected by. This is the second appearance after the first one with Jimmy Lee. This is one with actually Ethan on it. All right, so we're gonna take a look at this.
Okay, there it is. He's alive. Thank God. Thank God. We love him. All right, well, we have Aubrey on the phone.
We do.
Thank you. So that we'll just say hi to Aubrey, thank him for his time, and
I'm bringing him in right now.
honor him for going into a pit of vipers.
Right. Hey.
Oh, hello. Is this live?
What is the hat? I think that's a Teddy Fresh hat. To be honest, Teddy Fresh clothing has just never been my thing. I've never really gotten it. I don't really get it. The pastel color is just not my thing, you know. But if you want a cool, edgy alternative, all right, the Turkey Tom shop, which is sold out right now, but we will be planning another drop, hopefully in the first quarter of 2025. All right, we're working on the designs right now. My merch, okay, just saying, is pretty goated. All right, and I am, you know, being a little conceited here, but most of the credit goes to SP, my designer, who did an excellent fucking job, handles this shit amazingly, built this beautiful website for me, created some great merch. All right, also shout out to should I say his name? I don't know. Shout out to Lucas for taking the pictures. He did a good job, my boy. Read Sonichu on stream? I don't think I will. Thank you for the dono, though. Anyhow, back to the content.
Live already?
It sure is.
Hi, we'll go live, you know. Hi, Aubrey. Well, first of all, thank you so much for taking on the unfathomable task of trying to give sensitivity training to Jimmy Lee and my dad.
No, of course. It's honestly, anytime that people are willing to have a conversation, it's so important to have a conversation. And I'm honestly like shocked that you guys, you know, allowed that to happen in the first place because, you know, just like dwarfism representation, it's just really, really hard to not be taken as a joke. And I was really excited that the Reddit, you know, community and my fellow foot soldiers were there.
Yeah.
Wanting to have that conversation. And me and my producer were just scrolling through.
So, I mean, we'll keep watching. I'm kind of being pause Andy right now, but so far, I don't really see how people have such a issue. Dan calling Ethan out for saying short king right after he got off the phone with Aubrey is sending me. Did he say that? That's crazy.
Through the comments, and I think there's almost like 200 comments on that thread of me just going back and forth with people asking questions. People were like, oh, I know a person with dwarfism that I really miss that I grew up with. Oh, I, you know, love what you're doing because I don't like how people with dwarfism are represented on screen. So
what's your opinion on pregnant midget monkey goon material? Sounds excellent.
What the Jimmy and Gary thing, I'm like, this is, trust me, in comparison to actual like people.
Okay, so I feel like I have a full picture of what happens now. So Jimmy Lee finds it very funny to joke about midgets. Okay, he finds it very funny. Potentially Ethan's dad, although I don't know for sure. Okay. Jimmy Lee was obviously a very raunchy guy. His whole point, as he said, was like to rile people up, to get controversy. He's kind of a scumbag, right? That's the whole point of his comedy. So this guy wants to come on to talk to them about the jokes. He comes on. He gets Jimmy Lee to apologize. The Reddit community is very respectful, and they like him. So far, so good. Seems like everything with this podcast was a good moment for him, right? He comes on, he talks to Jimmy. He says, well, I'm not that offended, but, dwarfism is a real thing that deserves representation. And in fairness, his life probably has been kind of hard because he's, a short king, so to speak, or queen, however you look at it. So I understand that. I think that's fair. I don't like the chastising people for making jokes, but so far it seems to be in a favorable interaction between people who like the way it went. Not glazing, Tom, but the merch is objectively high quality shit. It's made out of good material. Feels heavy like my nuts. It is. It's made out of great material. We do a great job with the merch. What can I say? I shelled the fuck out, okay? On that merch drop, we put a lot of money into it. Which I'm not jerking myself off here. I have no problem with that. But we did put a lot of money into it because I want to make it good, and I'm very glad it came out good.
People on the internet who hate me right now, and they're like actively doing everything they can to exploit people with.
And really, a lot of it is Espy, by the way. So just let it be known, Espy really is the goat behind all of it. So shout out to Espy. All right, I love that guy. We're gonna be doing big things in 2025, 2026. Big things.
Dwarfism. This was like the easiest thing.
Okay, wow. But what was actually the most interesting is that you actually seemed to break through to Jimmy Lee. Although, well, that's questionable because 2 days later he did write, "I fucking hate midgets" in his description. And apologies for using that word just to retell what he wrote.
Listen, in the full version, I got caught slipping too. I was like midget this, midget that, because it's not. I want to move past the word as the most interesting things that people with dwarfism can offer, and that was what I was ultimately trying to get across to Jimmy. I was like, when you use this word, buddy, and he even made a joke. He was like, "Oh, I have a few jokes," because I was like, "Let's go through some jokes. We can workshop it." And he was like, "Oh, you're something black and I bet you won't be playing basketball." And I'm like, there's literally people with dwarfism who they're not playing with LeBron James, but they're traveling around the world being paid thousands of dollars every
That is a crazy joke.
week to be the global Globetrotters. His name's Manny. He's an incredible person. And I know that in those moments I was like, with Jimmy, I was like, we're gonna get to the bottom of this because Manny's not sweating his ass off. People aren't sweating their ass off with dwarfism on Broadway. Musicians, teachers in law, doctors, nurses, they're not doing all this work for us to just be like, ha 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 midgets, ha 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 this.
Yeah.
That's what my movie is about, basically. It's just about like highlighting that in a new, fun way that's like entertaining to watch.
Let me ask you this. You mentioned that there's people that...
Based on the trailer, I doubt it was very entertaining. It seemed like a boring fucking movie, but maybe it is. Maybe it's good.
Like stalk you? Like you said that,
Jimmy, I mean, even literally today, like earlier today, I went to this. They have a YouTube channel that's been running for years that is monetized.
What?
And
what's the name? Can I ask the name of it, or do you rather not say?
I would love, trust me, nothing I would love better, because all it's going to take is just more than me and 10 other people I know reporting his account, because YouTube's reporting system does not work.
Yeah, it's just about quantity.
But he's literally using, I used to post videos on YouTube as like a way of showing what it's like to be a dwarf, like what a day in the life of a little person, comedy videos in that sense, right? Not taking anything seriously. And he would play these videos as a part of Midget Wednesdays with his thousands of followers. And all he does is literally just say, "Oh, if we don't fetishize you, we're just going to start getting rid of people like you."
Oh my God.
Saying
That's
stuff
insane.
like literally called me the N-word 2 days
Ethan trying not to laugh.
ago on YouTube, and they're making money. But no, what I would rather, if truly Ethan, is I would love if you could like assist, because I just need someone at YouTube who I can send the links,
Okay, so he's asking Ethan for help to get this channel that's been stalking him reported. Fair enough.
all the backup accounts, all of that stuff that I've had to compile over this year, because I've never said anything to this person. And I would love for someone at YouTube, a person, to just be like, "Oh, click." But it will be justified, because you can't, it's literally
I can write an email intro, and then you can just explain kind of whatever you want to say
I think
about that.
He said he would help him out. I assume he did, right? I assume he did. If I look at the subreddit, we can see these guys being like, "Hey, JJ Stoner's the account which has been harassing Aubrey. Now, I'm not telling you what to do, but I think you should all check out the channel, watch the videos, spend time on the site, and if you think it breaks YouTube TOS, file a report on the channel." And here they're literally saying, "Hey, we're helping him out," right? This is what he wanted. It happened on the sub. But they're literally praising him. There was a brief moment of Aubrey on the recent SYNT. I'd love to see them back on the pod when they don't need to be talking to Jimmy Lee. They have some really amazing content they share about dwarfism history, and they're also trying to get this documentary made. So I figure I'll give them a shout out either way. I adore Aubrey. So, I mean, they seem very nice. They seem like they're going very, very nice. The entire subreddit's like praising him, being like, this guy's a cool guy. We feel bad for him. Like, what was the bad interaction you had with Ethan? I really don't get it.
In terms of that, I just kind of got over that.
Wait,
pretty
is his
fast.
name, is the channel's name Keemstar or Drama Alert?
You're going to laugh when you see him.
Oh, this is during the Keemstar hate era when Ethan was every single day talking about Keemstar and how he's evil.
I'll send him to you. You're going to laugh because I call him
So it
my
is.
Keemstar.
Oh, you do?
No.
Oh, okay. Just making sure. Just confirming.
No.
I just wanted to confirm. Yeah,
No.
I'll set you up an email. I am best friends with Susan, of course, so there's no problem here.
Susan.
Yeah, no
This is
problem.
going to be the test if Susan likes little people.
Mhm.
Does YouTube actually like little people? Just kidding.
But who is?
no,
But you said he harasses you in real life and stuff like that.
No. So,
Oh.
but people have in this journey, I found videos of him reacting to other people who have uploaded videos of me in public. And he's reacting to it because he just scours anything on YouTube that has the word dwarf.
That is pretty psychotic, in fairness. That guy is an actual psycho. Following people around in real life, do not support that. Do not condone that. No matter who they are, do not do that.
Person or midget in it. And I've literally been watching him react to a video of me and my producer filming a movie about disability awareness and about the hyper, fixation on dwarfism. And he's literally proven my points for the points of this film that there is an issue here because in him harassing a dwarf, he is reacting to someone else harassing me. So it's been kind of, but that's what this whole movie's about. It's like the inception of that. Like, just imagine for a second how wild that is. And I just
Have you gooned today? If not, I can help. I have not, and I will not be gooning whatsoever.
wanted to turn that into something that like everyone can
He still hasn't said the name. Well, he doesn't want to give the particular person attention, but it was definitely that JJ guy.
relate to. Everyone can get something positive out of because it's been a tough 2 years for everybody,
So the website again is Dear Normal Size or what is it? Sorry, I don't know. I just want maybe you better say it.
Dear Ethan.
No. DearEthan.com. Oh shit.
DearEthan.com. No, it's DearAverageHeightPeople.com. We are in the last 2 weeks of our fundraising.
Okay, so he went on. He was complaining about the fact he didn't get to promote his thing. He went back on the podcast and got to promote his fucking thing. He got to promote exactly what he wanted to. His website, his movie that he was making, the fundraiser. He got to promote all of it. And Ethan was very respectful and nice to him.
We just really, I was shooting some earlier this year, and I'm sure like it's just expensive, shooting
Oh yeah,
stuff.
definitely.
And I'm at a point where I'm an actor and I've been at studios auditioning for stuff, and I know other little people as well, and there's no studio is going to take a risk on people with dwarfism right now.
Yeah.
So considering the community and people actually seem like the viewers want it, I was like, let's fundraise, let's see what we can do. And again, you are the real G for having a person with dwarfism on H3. That's iconic.
Oh, well, you're
That's
the real
iconic.
G. And
He's so
thank you
happy.
for kind of coming on, and I apologize for Jimmy and my dad, but honestly, you handled it well and you broke through to them. So shout
I love
shout
your dad
the
too.
fuck
I
out.
love your dad.
I told you he was a snake. Yeah, he clearly is a snake, but it's not even just like he doesn't even have anything on Ethan. Ethan didn't even do anything bad to him. If the worst thing he did was after he got off, he called him a short king. Is that really the worst insult in the world? Is this guy offended that he got called a short king? He didn't say that in his podcast clip, or sorry, in his TikTok.
They're through the whole frenemies,
Good,
through
good,
Elfie's
okay.
families.
Thank you. You're very gracious.
I'm wearing the Teddy Fresh.
I noticed that. You look great. I love that shirt, by the way, too. That's one of my favorites.
This one was made for people with dwarfism, so I think this was coming. You have a lot of people with dwarfism on your side, Ethan.
Okay, shout out, dude.
Shout out to the dwarfism fans.
Yeah, love that.
And
Love
shout out
that.
to all the Redditors, too. You guys are like...
Yeah, people are. Sometimes the people in this community are really nice, and I love that. Sometimes, but yeah, like on the subreddit, like you pointed out. I mean, the post had 3,000 points, and everyone's just super nice and supportive, and that's nice. That's a beautiful thing. But Aubrey, I'm gonna put the link to your website in the description.
They did right here.
I
You see
want
the link in the
to-
description right there. Check out Aubrey's documentary.
Thank you so much for calling in and being a total sweetheart and
Wait,
representing.
Ethan, do you have any questions about dwarfism, real quick?
I'm just surprised.
Anything that
I'm just
you-
so surprised. Like, I'm just so surprised to hear that. Like, who's walking around hating dwarfs? That's just psychotic. It's just crazy. Like, what? I don't even understand the root of that. You know what I mean?
As someone too with dwarfism, like I struggle, and I think that's why I'm okay with it, because I'm like, what, like legs, like what part of the bottom of the barrel do you have to be in your life to like really think it would be funny to follow someone around just doing something normal and then film them, like what, and then say derogatory things on top of it, upload it to accounts dedicated just to stuff like that. Like
it's crazy, man.
it's giving bottom shelf. So
Yeah.
the onwards and upwards. Representation is going to help this, guys. Representation will help this.
All right. Thank you, buddy. Aubrey, legend. Thank you so much. Thanks for calling. All right. You take care.
Thanks, Aubrey.
God bless you.
Thank you, Aubrey.
Legend. By the way, Jimmy, go back to Jimmy Lee poll. 20,000 votes are in. The man is untouchable. 53% yes, Jimmy. It's actually more.
1 point up.
You gained a point since the beginning, so Jimmy is loving this at home.
The entire chat is so nice to him. They're so fucking nice to him. That was a very positive experience.
So there was a podcast that I was on one time, and it was a horrible experience, and it's why I'm never going to go on another
What do you mean it was a horrible experience?
podcast again. And no, I will not be naming the podcast, even though some of you definitely know what I'm talking about. But they had a segment one time with the podcast owner's dad and some comedian who, mind you, the same podcast is now accusing of SA years later. But the comedian one day was talking in a bit about how he has a phobia of little people. And they were going on and on about a lot of miseducation around dwarfism in general. So I was like, oh my God, this is the perfect time to educate people. We love a good educational moment, especially as a viewer at the time with dwarfism. So I wrote on their subreddit, I was like, hey, I'm a filmmaker and educator. I would love to come on and educate you guys and talk about the dwarfism community and specifically the phobia of little people, since I know that's such a gray area for a lot of people. So the post blew up. All the fans of the show were like, we would love to see Aubrey on the show. They reached out, and then next thing you know, I'm in the waiting room the next episode to talk to the comedian and the podcast owner's dad. And I thought this was going to be a educational little moment, but I was coming on to be a bit. They essentially had, leading up to my appearance.
He says he's coming on to be a bit. But on the actual podcast, I mean, Jimmy Lee did apologize to him. He said, I'll never do something like that anymore, right? So, like, maybe that was the intention from the start, but you had to have known that completely. You're going on the H3 podcast where they joke about a lot of people, so you had to have known that 1,000%. And on top of that, after actually seeing it, this is a complete misrepresentation of what actually happened. Maybe there's stuff that was cut that I haven't seen that I need to see. If that exists, I'd like to see it. But based on all the available evidence, this guy is clearly talking out of his fucking ass and nothing bad happened to him.
A whole compilation of this guy, all the times that he said publicly on the internet that he's afraid of little people, and just a lot of derogatory jokes about little people. And then they were like, and drum roll, we have a little person to surprise you. And they brought me in with basically no warning. And the whole bit was basically just about having a little person go against two guys who were just talking about how little people, what are they going to do? Kick you in the shins? And then brought me in. And it just really solidifies the fact that, one, I'm a class act. Because y'all, I wanted to cuss them out. But I do believe in digital footprints, and mind you, this was in front of like 50,000 people watching live. And because what you're not gonna do is pretend like just because I have dwarfism that you can suddenly start making jokes as if I'm not a grown man who pays taxes and like has a life.
They weren't even that bad in the clip. They didn't even make that many bad jokes about you. This is so much worse than I thought it was. This guy, first of all, I wouldn't even have felt bad for him off the rip. Okay, I wouldn't have, because I don't care. People can make jokes. If they're funny, they're funny. If they're not, they're not. But I don't care about not being able to make jokes about certain things. But this guy is lying about what happened on the fucking podcast. He's full of it.
Shame on you, weirdo. But two, again, I'm an educator. I do believe in trying my best. And I did what I could. They weren't willing to listen. They weren't wanting to listen. The whole crew was just laughing the whole time. And it was like an out-of-body experience. I definitely disassociated for maybe 30 seconds because I was like, it's very strange watching something that you consumed for so long and then finally
Thanks for the
being
donut, Jalen.
involved in that circle, and then just realizing you're there to be a joke. Very weird thing. And it really, now I'm so conscious of what I say yes to and the things that I say and participate in. And the only podcast I listen to now, because I ain't listening to that anymore, is Do We Know Them? Because we love the girlies. And one of them actually has a child with a disability.
We love the girlies.
And talks so openly and respectfully about that. And then also I listen to my own podcast because I love the sound of my own voice.
As if Ethan was completely disrespectful. They brought you on again and we're so nice, dude. They literally helped you get a guy banned from YouTube.
Sorry, some of us have soothing, calming voices that's enjoyable to listen to.
You don't.
But don't worry about me though. I'm doing better things. At the time I had just started working on my documentary, and I was also told them that I would love to talk to people about that and why I was making a documentary about little people that actually hired little people behind the camera and in front of the camera in the first place, you know, because of issues like us being constantly used as like I'm scared of little people and the experiences that we have. But that fundraiser, it took a long time to reach our goal, but we finally did a couple months ago in the summer, which was really exciting. And also, I'm still hot, so, and the podcast owner now is crashing out on the internet publicly, so how things change.
All right. I think this guy's full of shit. That's about it for him. This guy sucks. This guy just straight up lied about what happened on the podcast. It's not even just that the issue he had doesn't matter. It's that the issue he had doesn't matter, and he lied about everything. So fuck this guy. This guy will get what's coming to him long term.